Yes, Mick. I mean, firstly, congratulations. I mean, what does it mean to now to make that step and join this Reds coaching staff?
Oh, look, I'm really excited. I've got a long history, as people know, of coaching in club footy, and for a long time, I was content coaching club footy. But I guess for the last few years, I've thought, there's a bit more to give there, and I'm just really excited that Brad and Sam Cordingley have given me the opportunity.
What do you think in particular you can kind of add to Thorny? Getting also signing Phil Blake today as well. What do you think you can kind of add to this Reds team as they look to take the next step?
Yeah, look, I've been coaching for 25 years, so I've got a fair bit of experience there, and I've also been working in corporate roles for 25 years. So, I guess, my remit is around breakdown work. But there's also, quite a bit of organisational stuff that I can help Brad with off the field, particularly around, the squad, the non-match day 23, some of the player review and feedback, loop work, referee management. There's all sorts of things that, I think I can help Brad with. And if I look at my corporate experience, I've been working in, senior HR roles for quite a while, and bread and butter for HR is around supporting and mentoring and leaders and leadership. So helping set strategy, helping implement strategy. So I think there's a nice synergy between what I'm doing, what I've done in corporate roles, and what I'll be doing, for the Reds.
Just going to say, just coming in from that club perspective, the Reds, made the quarterfinals, we went down to Crusaders. Where do you think kind of the next steps the club's got to take just to kind of make sure to get to that stage where they're contending consistently with your Crusaders, your Blues, these type of teams?
Yeah, look, I think there's obviously there's been an issue over the last couple of years with the way we've approached the games against the Kiwis. So, I don't want to speak for Brad or Jimmy or Phil, who will have more of the on-field roles, but, there's clearly an issue with the way we've gone about things against the Kiwis. We've done really well against Australian teams over the last couple of years, and you could see the improvements almost immediately when Brad took over as head coach. But, I'm there to help the coaching team and help the players take that next step and contend consistently against the Kiwis.
Do you think that's like a mentality thing? What kind can you put that down to why it works so well against Australian teams, but maybe not against the Kiwis?
Oh, look, I think it's a little bit of everything, Nathan. There's certainly a mentality there, and you've seen that across the Australian teams. But there's also a game style, I think, that we need to look at closely, both in attack and defence, to help us have more consistent results and make it harder for the Kiwis to play against us.
I'm just going to say, coming from UQ, seeing guys, like the best example, guys like Jock Campbell really kind of step up and all of a sudden find themselves in Wallaby squads. Just wondering how much pride do you take out of that, seeing those guys continue to develop go from Clubland to Reds, and then those that have gone from Reds now to Wallabies?
Yeah, I think someone like Jock, who didn't come out of the traditional pathway, he wasn't an academy superstar in the early days of his career. He was, he didn't even play first 15 at school. He came through the club pathway. That I get a real kick out of that. And there's more players like that out there, both in Shoot Shield and in Hospital Cup. So, I get a kick out of it, and coming out of that club pathway, part of our job is to develop players for the next year. And so, I'm taking it up a step now, and part of my job will be helping develop players to be successful for the Reds firstly, and then hopefully go on and play national for the Wallabies.
It does seem to be a strength of this Red side, is that connection with Clubland. And you see players like, when the Wallabies players who are in that Red squad aren't playing, they go straight back to Clubland, and, they're playing for Bralers, UQ, these type of teams. How do you kind of, coming from Clubland into the Reds, how do you look to kind of not facilitate, but kind of strengthen that bond and just make sure it's, those players are continuing to develop and go through the system?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. Like, there is a real pride in club footy from the Reds guys, and I think Brad and the team have done a good job to help foster that connection. But that's part of my remit as well, to make sure that connection between clubs and the Reds squad and the Reds more generally is fostered and strengthened over the next year.
Mick, I guess you've articulated well there that there's lots of areas you can contribute in. Is there still a mental step to take to go from a head coach who controls everything to being part of a coaching group? And could you relate that a bit to stepping up at the NRC level, where going from UQ to an NRC head coach didn't automatically translate to success? And what did you learn out of
Jim? Yeah, I mean, look, I've been a head coach for a long time, as you know. So being an assistant might be, mentally might be a little bit difficult for me. But I mean, I really respect Brad and what he's done. You know, both in a playing and coaching career. I really like the team that's been assembled, the assistant coaching team that's been assembled. So I'm just really excited to work with him, and my job is to support the coaching team and the Reds to be as successful as they can. And as I said, my corporate roles, that's been my bread and butter, to support leadership to get the right outcomes for their teams. So it's not something that's foreign to me. It's been my bread and butter as my 9-to-5 day job for the last 20 years.
So the NRC role, what did that teach you about? Because you were dealing there with players who are in the Reds squad. What insight did that give you about what makes things tick at the next level?
Oh, it just gave me some insight into how those players prepare a little bit differently to the club guys, and it brings its own. It brings its own challenges, doesn't it? I mean, these guys, there's some guys most of the guys in NRC were club guys, mate. So, it was, and we were training 2 or 3 times a week. So it wasn't all that much different, but getting to know the professional guys and getting to know their mentality and what they brought to it. And I think for NRC, for any coach, it's really around, coaching at a bit of a higher standard. So coaching some of the best players, and coaching different players. I've been coaching the same players for the last, however many years when I did NRC. It was refreshing to actually go in with a different coach, with different S&C, with a different manager, with different players, and just try and work through those challenges.
This may be an unfair question for you. We look at the landscape with signings around the place, and the Brumbies are signing, players like Corey Toole and O'Donnell have been snapped up by different places. The Reds continually look inward to find solutions with, I guess, from the club system or former Reds players to make it a real Queensland owned, 90% Queensland born and bred. Do you, with your HR role, like expertise coming from outside, player expertise from outside, can kick up an organisation a couple of notches? Have you got any thoughts particularly on that, whether the Reds should continue to look inward, or they've got to be a little bit more outward looking and pick up a big recruit somewhere?
Oh, look, I think you probably answered your own question there, Jim. I mean, the Reds' DNA is always going to be coming through the Hospitals Cup and coming through the school system in Queensland, and that's as it should be. But from time to time, there will be an opportunity to bring in some talent from outside, but that's going to very much be the exception rather than the rule. I think. I think look, you look back through the history of Super Rugby, and there's been some great examples of people coming in from outside. I think Jacques Potgieter from the Waratahs was probably the best example of someone that's come into the Waratahs and really added to them. But they had the rest of the team largely was drawn from Sydney and from New South Wales and the Shute Shield. So, wouldn't say, I don't think the Reds have ever said they're closed to bringing in someone from outside at any time, but the DNA is very much going to be through the Hospitals Cup and through the Queensland school system.
You've got some good talent at UQ, particularly your Colts teams are loaded every season, so you get to see some of the best academy guys every year. So do you see a good new breed coming through?
I thought the club competition generally this year and the Colts competition was of a really high standard. I think we'll see some of that play at another level, sort of an NRC style level with with the President's 15 and the development games that are coming up, both at under 19 level and at the senior level. So I think that's a good opportunity for that next level to to show what they've got with the best of club footy and some of the guys that are developing from the Reds and the Reds Academy and some of the best club players there.
I guess leading on from that, you want your fingerprints to immediately be on the President's 15, like contribute in a selection way to some of the players there. And I guess on that bent, you probably saw Tom Liner more than anyone play this year, his strengths and some of the areas he has to improve. What's your rating of Tom's potential for the next couple of years for the Reds?
Tom's got a lot of raw potential there, Jim. But I think it's just talking about him. It's a bit unfair on the guy. Like he's only young, and I think because of his surname, people sort of heap pressure on him. But he's a young guy that's come out of school footy in England that was circumscribed in a major way by COVID over his last couple of years of schooling. So he needs time to develop, and I think playing Colts this year was great for him. And with the development games that are coming up, the Tour de Japan, and a proper pre-season, let's see where he gets to. I'm not going to put, we wouldn't put a ceiling on him at any stage, but he needs time to develop.